We were at her company's annual dinner, one of those events where everyone pretends to like each other while silently competing for attention. I'd spent the entire week helping Claire prepare, choosing her dress, rehearsing her presentation, even calming her nerves when doubt crept in. But that night, as we walked into the room, I reached for her hand, and she pulled away. Her voice was quiet, but sharp enough to cut through me. "Don't let them think we're a couple." For a moment, I froze. The music, the chatter, the clinking glasses, all of it faded. I just stared at her, trying to process if I'd heard correctly. She looked at me, composed and cold, as if what she'd said was perfectly reasonable. Then she adjusted her hair and walked ahead, leaving me standing there like some stranger who had shown up uninvited. I followed silently, but something inside me cracked that night. I didn't make a scene. I didn't demand an explanation. I just watched her laughter, her charm, the way she leaned a little too close to her boss, pretending I wasn't even there. Claire had changed. Or maybe she'd always been like this, and I'd been too blinded by love to notice. When we first met, she seemed perfect, confident, ambitious, radiant. I admired her drive, independence, and sharp mind. But somewhere along the way, she began treating me like an accessory, the man who stood silently by her side, useful when needed, invisible when not. That dinner made it impossible to ignore anymore. Every smile she gave someone else, every dismissive glance at me, every time she said I instead of we, it all added up. After her speech, people flocked to congratulate her. She basked in it, glowing with pride. I stood off the side, clapping quietly, pretending not to notice that she hadn't introduced me to a single person all evening. Later, as we stepped outside, the chill in the air matched the silence between us. She looked radiant under the streetlight, but when she turned to me, there was no warmth in her eyes. "Thanks for coming," she said, like I was just a colleague. And in that moment, I realized something crucial. She didn't want a partner. She wanted an audience. So I gave her exactly what she wanted. I disappeared from the stage. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the blinds, falling on the side of the bed where she used to sleep, but she wasn't there. Her purse and phone were gone. Maybe she had gone for a run. Maybe she was already at work. I didn't care. I just sat there motionless, staring at the empty space beside me. For years, I had filled that space with love, patience, and quiet understanding. Every time she belittled me in public, I told myself she was stressed. Every time she dismissed my affection, I convinced myself she needed space. Every time she said, "Don't make everything about feelings," I swallowed the hurt and kept smiling. But last night had killed something inside me. I got up, showered, and started packing my things, not in anger, but in absolute calm. My heart wasn't racing. My hands weren't shaking. It was as if I'd finally run out of emotion. After enough humiliation, pain transforms into clarity. By the time she returned, the living room was empty. My framed photos were gone. My shoes weren't by the door. She looked around in confusion until her eyes landed on the folded note I'd left on the kitchen counter. It wasn't long or emotional, just one line. "You didn't want people to think we were a couple. Now they won't." I didn't wait for her reaction. I turned off my phone, loaded my suitcase into the car, and drove away. For the first time in years, I wasn't chasing peace. I was choosing it. In the weeks that followed, mutual friends reached out. Apparently, Claire had started telling people I'd overreacted, that I was too sensitive, that I didn't understand her professional image. I laughed. It was an image issue. It was a respect issue. Funny thing is, walking away quietly scares people more than shouting ever could. They expect chaos, tears, arguments, desperate texts. Silence, however, makes them realize they've lost control. 2 months later, I ran into her by accident at a downtown cafe. She looked up, startled. I saw the flicker of pride in her eyes, quickly replaced by something else. Regret, maybe. I smiled politely, nodded, and walked past. She called my name softly at first, then louder. I didn't stop. Sometimes the loudest thing you can ever say is nothing at all. Life after Claire was quieter. Not lonely, just quiet in a way that finally let me hear my own thoughts again. I moved into a small apartment at the edge of the city. One bedroom, bare walls, secondhand furniture, but it felt more like home than our polished house ever had. No passive-aggressive notes, no silent treatments, no tension, just peace. And for a while, I didn't realize how much I'd been craving that. I spent mornings walking to the cafe around the corner, reading a newspaper instead of scrolling through texts that never came. I got back into running, joined a local volunteer group, and reconnected with friends I neglected when my world revolved around Claire. At first, it felt strange not having to constantly prove my worth. A few months later, she reached out with a short message. "I miss you." I stared at it, then deleted it, not out of anger, but because I finally understood. Missing me didn't mean she had changed. It just meant she realized I was gone for good. Friends said she'd been struggling since the split. She tried dating a few colleagues, but nothing lasted. She had built her image around being untouchable. The woman who didn't need anyone, until she realized admiration isn't the same as love. Sometimes I wonder if she ever remembers that night at the dinner, the moment she said the words that ended us. "Don't let them think we're a couple." I wonder if she realizes how final they sounded. But the truth is, I don't need to know. Closure doesn't come from the other person explaining why they hurt you. It comes from accepting that they did, and surviving anyway. Now, when I see couples holding hands in public, I don't feel bitterness. I feel gratitude. I know what it's like to reach for someone who pulls away, and I know what it's like to finally stop reaching. Claire once said appearances mattered more than feelings. Perhaps she was right. From where she stands, she can keep pretending she's fine. From where I stand, I no longer have pretend at all.